A myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
I'm just not a very emotional woman at all.
No, you think much more like a dude than Gavin Newsom thinks. Like
without question, he is more feminine than I am.
1,000%.
And
Picture this. Candace Owens, wearing her trademark smirk, stares straight into the camera as if she's about to roast a politician into early retirement, and she is. Her target is Gavin Newsom, the man who treats California like his personal TikTok experiment gone wrong. What follows is a brutal takedown where she drops bombs, throws shade, and makes him look like a kid who just lost his lunch money. This isn't politics. It's comedy disguised as reality.
Been that way, like the emotional arguments and all that stuff. Isn't like, I just want logic. Tell me what the rational thing is, and I'll make a decision. Which is why I was very no masks, no this for the kids, not vaccinating the kids, leave the schools open. Just much more logical. I'm not fear based in anything that I do.
Yes.
I think fear is an awful driver of.
Smash that like button and subscribe because you don't want to miss this one. California has always been sold like a Hollywood blockbuster: sunsets, beaches, wine country, and movie stars waving from convertibles, but somewhere between the red carpets and the smog alerts, it morphed into a live-action dystopian film directed by Gavin Newsom, and just when he thought no one would challenge his slick hair and dramatic hand gestures, Candace Owens shows up armed with facts sharp enough to slice through his designer suits and that ever-present green anons beyond.
Always yields to completely irrational decision-making when you're doing things out of any breath of emotion. And so that is sort of why I think that, a lot of women that are left-leaning find me to be quite distasteful, because how could I not be neurotic and crazy and emotional and upset by the question, that I don't even consider the.
Candace Owens locks eyes on Newsom. It stops being a debate and turns into a demolition derby. He shows up in his taxpayer-funded bumper car, while she rolls in with a monster truck decked out with spikes on the grill, leaving the predictable result: tire tracks smeared all over his carefully polished.
Not President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a f***ing con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors. Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician. Just a stone-cold, narrative-driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and that's a human being. With Newsom, you got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person. I don't think people want that, but they might want it more than they want President.
Newsom has mastered the art of looking important while California collapses behind him like a sandcastle at high tide. He struts into press conferences with the confidence of a man convinced he's auditioning for the role of President Ken in the next Barbie sequel, all while residents trip over tents, dodge thefts at Walgreens, and pay gas prices so outrageous they might as well buy a horse. Yet Gavin still wonders why Democrats are struggling.
Wonders why Dems lost.
We lost the popular vote and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. But
Kennedy, I think the answer is yes. Was
it because of Israel? Yes. Interest rates? Yes. Too woke? Yes. It's like every bad policy that trickled up to the White House during the Biden administration started in California. That state is responsible for the worst politicians in modern history. And he is at the top of the list, and there are some ignoramuses.
Isn't here to audition. She's here to drag Gavin Newsom's resume through the mud like a toddler with a juice box. The record speaks for itself. Billions spent to solve homelessness. Yet California looks more like an outdoor camping expo than the Golden State. Newsom insists it's complicated. But of course, it's complicated, mostly because he seems to think throwing taxpayer money at consultants and committees is the same as actually helping people, while lives and homes continue to burn around him.
Their houses have been burned, all their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
Los Angeles sidewalks have turned into permanent Airbnb listings without the bathrooms. And San Francisco practically offers guided tours of its open-air drug markets. Candace zeroes in on this circus and says what everyone's already whispering. California isn't solving homelessness, it's franchising it. Other states aren't sending their problems to California. California is exporting them like a subscription service. Pay $29.99 in state taxes and get your very own encampment on the corner of Main Street and Sadness Avenue. And then there's crime. Once upon a time, California was where people went to make dreams come true. Now it's where you go if you want to steal $949 worth of merchandise without consequence. That's not satire, that's law. Stores look like Fort Knox with padlocks and plastic shields over toothpaste, while thieves treat Target like a buffet line. Candace doesn't need to exaggerate, she just points to footage of people casually strolling out with TVs under their arms as if Costco had an endless free sample day. Yet Newsom smiles through it all as if crime stats are just jealous numbers trying to ruin his Instagram feed, talking about reimagining justice, which is really just code for letting criminals reimagine your living room as their pawn shop inventory. Candace, of course, calls it exactly what it is: legalized looting with a splash of progressive perfume. One
who thinks he's going to run for president when, so much of the state is absolutely unlivable. And so every project that he's championed, he's now trying to demonize conveniently, and people are not that dumb. Like, people have been through it in his state. They are sick of him. They want him to leave. And maybe that's why so many people around him are like, you should totally run for president. So he gets out of the state.
Yes. Move away.
And if you thought California was done bleeding residents, think again. People are fleeing faster than extras at a failed pilot taping. The state is shrinking while Texas and Florida boom. And not just because of barbecue and Disney World. Families are sick of paying luxury rent prices just to step over needles on their way to the car. Companies are bailing like it's the last helicopter out of Saigon, while Newsom insists everything's fine, like a 5-star waiter serving rat stew with garnish. Candace doesn't just highlight the exodus, she turns it into a punchline, saying California's population decline is basically the world's most expensive U-Haul commercial. No billboards needed when your governor himself is the best motivator to pack up and head east. The irony: half the people leaving are liberals who voted for the very policies that wrecked the state. And now they're exporting that same disaster recipe to Arizona, Texas, and Tennessee. What really fires Candace up, though, is Newsom's refusal to see any of this as failure. He treats it like a resume booster, strutting around as if California is his proof of concept for America's future. It's like applying to NASA with a paper airplane that bursts into flames on takeoff bats. Newsom's pitch for higher
made Gavin Newsom suddenly vulnerable to being recalled. It looked like Gavin Newsom was going to kind of cruise to a victory here and avoid the recall, but COVID might be changing things a little bit.
Well, part of the reason I wrote the column was I am having a bit of a change of heart, and part of it is because last time I was on Glenn Beck's show with you, Glenn asked me, and I said that I didn't think that the recall was going to win, and I don't think that that's necessarily my position today. To be clear, I'm not betting that Gavin Newsom is going to lose. That would be just too good. The world doesn't seem to work that way.
She hammers the point that Newsom isn't really governing California. He's auditioning for the White House. Every speech, every photo up, every smug grin is just another scene in the campaign he pretends isn't happening. Even as his state runs out of water and power while he oils his hair and rehearses how to blame Texas for everything, Candace turns California into Exhibit A. Not just saying it's failing, but mapping out why it's a warning sign for the entire country. High taxes, unchecked crime, collapsing infrastructure, runaway homelessness, and the illusion of green energy that still leans on fossil fuels to keep the lights on. She argues California is what happens when style outruns substance, when speeches replace solutions, and when a governor mistakes good hair for good leadership. Meanwhile, Newsom keeps playing America's cool uncle, tossing out platitudes like mints, always wearing that expression of a man just complimented on his watch. Candace mocks this ruthlessly, pointing out that if charm and charisma could fix potholes, California's streets would be paved in gold. And the entertainment factor is undeniable. Her roasting is both scathing and hilarious. Newsom says progress, she hears regress. He says equity, she translates it as excuses. He calls California a model, and she quips, Yes, a model for the before picture in a bankruptcy ad. The more he polishes his words, the sharper she makes hers.
Well, in a kind of reptilian way. I mean, charming in the sense that his whole life is devoted to winning people over.
Yes,
kind of like Bill Clinton was, and I think he's good at it. But I also think, someone said to me the other day, Newsom could pass a lie detector test on saying anything. Like, there's a coldness inside that
he's
allows.
He's a sociopath. I think
That's
he's
kind of
a snake oil salesman. I think he's a liar, and I think that he destroyed the state of California. Full stop. I've got no love for Gavin.
The audience can't look away because this isn't just politics. It's a spectacle. Newsom brings the Hollywood gloss. Candace brings the steel-toed boots. And together, it feels less like a debate and more like a reality show where one contestant keeps hyping future projects while the other reminds everyone that his current project is already in flames. But beneath the comedy, the stakes are serious. Candace argues that California isn't just an island of dysfunction. Its policies spread like glitter and wanted, hard to clean up, and always showing up where you least expect them. From environmental mandates to softened crime laws to bloated welfare programs, what starts in California often gets shipped nationwide, and she warns America doesn't need a sequel. The clash becomes a metaphor for two competing futures. On one side, Newsom's California vision progressive, government-heavy, and dressed in social justice aesthetics. On the other, Candace's call for accountability, personal responsibility, and policies that don't treat crime like a quirky lifestyle choice. It's not just a war of words, it's a war of worldviews. In this battle, Candace Owens is a stand-up comedian armed with footnotes, while Gavin Newsom is a motivational speaker stuck in a self-help loop. She's pointing to real problems with real evidence. While he's busy drafting the trailer for Gavin 2028, the hair strikes.
A little over a week now, California Governor Gavin Newsom has been posting in the style of President Donald Trump. And he's getting a lot of admiration for it. So, he's basically engaging in this trolling campaign, and he's been very successful with it on X. Many of those posts have actually racked up tens of thousands of likes. And look, it does play well in the paradigm of left versus right. When you see politics as team sports and nothing more than tribal politics.
And just when it seems she's finished, Candace twists the knife. Could this man, whose state is hemorrhaging people, money, and sanity, really be the Democratic Party's secret weapon? She laughs at the idea, because if California is the blueprint, then America's future under Newsom looks less like the Golden State and more like a blooper reel. By the end, she's not just calling him out, she's dismantling the illusion, showing that his leadership isn't a shining example but a cautionary tale of how a state with endless resources, natural beauty, and economic power managed to turn itself into a punchline. And she's determined to make sure the rest of the country gets the joke before it's too late. The question that lingers is whether America will fall for the slick packaging and polished hair or finally notice the dumpster fire smoldering behind him. Candace has made her case loud and clear. California isn't the dream under Gavin Newsom. It's the nightmare that keeps marketing itself as a glossy brochure. And the irony is almost cinematic, as Newsom struts into every photo op like the second coming of Camelot, waiting for the presidential stage lights to hit his hair at the perfect.
I've listened to so many of my colleagues and members of the media say that these are mostly peaceful protests. It's like saying that Harvey Weinstein is mostly a feminist because he didn't rape every woman who came into his office. He only raped some of them. Number three, in terms of Governor Newsom, his record shows this. He's the dictionary definition of weenie.
Then comes the crime issue, where under Newsom's visionary policies, California has turned shoplifting into a low-stakes hobby. If your side hustle used to be flipping sneakers, you can now skip the wholesaler and grab them straight from the shelf thanks to Proposition 47, which Candace bluntly calls a government's sanctioned shopping spree. In Newsom's California, criminals aren't punished, they're practically rewarded, like a loyalty program where instead of points you get free stuff. And a pat on the back for reimagining justice. Businesses are closing faster than Newsom can rehearse his next campaign speech, with even Walgreens forced to lock up deodorant like it's gold bullion. When toothpaste needs to be sealed in a fortress, maybe, just maybe, the governor's policies aren't working. And then there are the taxes. California proudly holds the highest state income tax in the nation. But for what? Crumbling infrastructure, sinkhole-sized potholes, and bargain bin governance at champagne prices. Candace ridicules the absurdity of paying luxury rates only to be served flat soda and stale crackers. The result is a mass exodus that looks less like random migration and more like a coordinated escape plan. With Californians fleeing by the thousands to states like Texas and Florida, U-Haul trucks are now so in demand they might as well be
any message from you to Governor Newsom or Karen Bass tonight?
Spend less on hair gel. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, what can I say to them? Not big admirer of either. I don't like them.
Candace compares California to a bad party where everyone leaves early, and the only one insisting it's still fun is the host Newsom standing alone in his kitchen pouring another glass of overpriced wine. The punchline, though, is his ambition. He actually believes this resume qualifies him for the White House, parading California's record as if the rest of America is desperate for higher taxes, dirtier streets, and rolling blackouts. Candace laughs at the absurdity, pointing out that if California is the model, then America's future under Newsom looks like a cautionary tale written by people who flunked Economics 101. She also makes the clash personal and entertaining, contrasting his obsession with style-slick hair, perfect suits, speeches that sound like mirror rehearsals with her no-nonsense dismantling of his persona. She paints him as a politician so obsessed with optics he'd probably schedule a photo shoot during a natural disaster. California could be sliding into the Pacific, and he'd still be practicing his smile in the reflection of the waves. The best part is how she exposes the delivery gap. Newsom speaks in lofty jargon that sounds like it was penned by a PR intern in love with a thesaurus, while Candace cuts through the fluff with the precision of a roast master. He says visionary leadership, she hears wishful thinking. He calls California a model, and she translates it into the warning label on America's medicine box.
I think you brought it up. I moderated the debate with DeSantis, and I have tried to reason with this man, and he does not listen, ever. Maybe, is this the tipping point for him? Did you get the feeling he really wants to change?
I don't know. I think he wants to be president, Sean, more than...
And the more Candace dismantles him, the more Newsom's presidential ambitions look like a bad joke. Could this really be the Democratic Party's ace in the hole? A governor presiding over a state people are literally fleeing. Candace suggests that if this is their plan, Republicans should be sending him flowers for making their job easier, because nothing says vote for me quite like a resume of empty promises, sky-high taxes, and policies that make buying toothpaste harder than buying a luxury car. The real kicker is how she frames it as a choice for the rest of America. Do you want a country that looks like Newsom's California, expensive, unsafe, and crumbling under its own waiter leadership that actually acknowledges problems and fixes them? It's not just a jab at one governor, it's a warning shot at anyone who thinks charisma can substitute for competence. In the end, Candace Owens versus Gavin Newsom isn't just commentary, it's theater, satire, and a preview of battles to come. One side hides behind polish and platitudes, the other rips the curtain down with facts, wit, and zero patience for nonsense. And when the dust settles, Newsom looks less like a presidential hopeful, and more like a parody of everything broken in American politics.